Hey everyone, welcome back to English Connect.
Hi there. We're so glad you're here with us today.
I'm your host, Sophia.
And I'm Jason. This is your space to practice real, everyday English in a relaxed and friendly way.
If you're enjoying our podcast, please hit that subscribe button and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us reach more learners like you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your support.
Okay, Sophia, I have to ask you something, and I want everyone listening to think about this too.
All right, go ahead.
It's almost the end of 2025. If someone asked you right now, hey, how was your year? What would you actually say?
Oh, wow. That's a loaded question, isn't it?
Right? And here's what I want everyone listening to do right now. Don't wait. Go to the comments and complete this sentence. My 2025 was just 3 to 5 words. That's it.
Was it amazing? Was it challenging? Was it a roller coaster? Was it surprisingly quiet? Whatever comes to mind first, write it down.
We're going to read through these comments during the episode, so don't be shy. This is your community. We want to hear from you.
And honestly, I'm curious because 2025 has been quite a year.
It really has. Some people had the best year of their lives. Others struggled. Most of us had a mix of both.
And that's exactly what we're talking about today. How to actually talk about your year in English. Not just the surface level, it was good, but how to really express what happened, what you learned, what changed.
Because this comes up all the time, especially at the end of the year. People ask, how was your year? At parties, in emails, when you're catching up with old friends.
And if you're learning English, it's actually a perfect opportunity to practice speaking about your experiences, your feelings, your growth.
Plus, reflecting on your year in English helps you think in English, which is huge for improving fluency.
So today, we're going to have a real conversation about 2025. Our year, your year, the highs, the lows, everything in between.
And we'll give you the vocabulary and phrases you need to talk about your own year confidently.
Ready? Let's dive in.
Okay, Sophia, real talk. How was your 2025?
Honestly, it was one of those years where I feel like I aged 5 years in 12 months.
Oh no, in a good way or a bad way?
Both, actually. I went through some really challenging stuff early in the year, but I also had some incredible wins. It's been a roller coaster.
I feel that. I think a lot of people can relate to having a year that's not all good or all bad, but this weird mix where you're like, I don't even know how to sum this up.
Exactly. And that's why when someone asks, how was your year? I sometimes just freeze because I'm like, where do I even start?
Right. So let's talk about that. When someone asks you about your year, how do you actually answer in a natural way?
Well, I think the first thing is be honest. You don't have to pretend everything was perfect if it wasn't.
Yes, I hate when people feel like they have to say, it was great, when it really wasn't. It's okay to say it was tough.
Absolutely. You can say things like, honestly, it was a challenging year, or it had its ups and downs, or it wasn't what I expected.
Those are all natural ways to be truthful without oversharing or being negative.
Right. And then you can choose how much detail to go into based on the situation.
So let me ask you, what was your biggest win this year? Like, what's something you're actually proud of?
Okay, this might sound small, but I finally got consistent with exercising. Like, I worked out at least 3 times a week for the past 6 months.
That's not small at all. That's huge. Consistency is so hard.
Right? I've tried so many times before and always gave up after a month, but this year something clicked.
See, and that's the kind of thing worth celebrating. Not every win has to be, I got promoted or I bought a house. Small wins matter.
Exactly. What about you? What was your biggest win?
For me, it was finally finishing a project I've been procrastinating on for like 2 years. I kept making excuses, but in August, I just decided to commit to it, and I finished it in October.
That must have felt amazing.
It did, and it taught me that I was capable of more than I thought. Sometimes we just need to get out of our own way.
I love that. Okay, everyone listening, go to the comments right now and tell us what was your biggest win this year. And don't say I didn't have one because I don't believe you. Even small wins count.
Maybe you read more books this year. Maybe you made a new friend. Maybe you finally tried that recipe you'd been wanting to make. Share it with us.
All right, now let's talk about the flip side. What was your biggest challenge or disappointment this year?
Ooh, getting real now.
I know, but I think it's important to acknowledge this stuff too. For me, I had a friendship that kind of fell apart this year, and that was really painful.
I'm sorry. That's hard.
Yeah, we'd been friends for years, but we just grew in different directions. And by the middle of the year, we barely talked anymore. It wasn't dramatic, just sad.
That's one of those quiet losses that people don't always talk about, but they really affect you.
Exactly. What about you?
For me, it was career-related. I applied for a position I really wanted, made it to the final round, and then didn't get it. That stung.
Oh man, that's rough, especially getting so close.
Yeah, for a while I was really disappointed. But looking back now, I think it actually pushed me to develop new skills, and I'm in a better place because of it.
That's such a good perspective. Sometimes what feels like a loss in the moment becomes a redirect to something better.
Exactly. Not always, but sometimes.
Okay, I want to pause here and ask our listeners, what was your biggest challenge this year? What was hard for you? Write it in the comments if you're comfortable sharing.
And remember, this is a supportive community. We're all going through stuff. You're not alone in whatever you face this year.
Now, let's talk about surprises. Was there anything that happened this year that you didn't expect at all?
Oh, definitely. I started learning Spanish. That was completely unplanned.
Really? What made you start?
A friend invited me to a Spanish conversation group, and I went just to support her. But then I got really into it, and now I'm actually studying seriously.
That's so cool. Sometimes the best things are the ones we don't plan.
What about you? Any surprises?
Yeah, I discovered I actually like cooking. I always thought I hated it, but during a particularly stressful month, I started making these elaborate meals as a way to de-stress, and I realized I find it really meditative.
That's such a wholesome surprise.
I know, right? Who knew?
Okay, here's a question for everyone listening. What surprised you about 2025? Maybe you discovered a new hobby. Maybe you liked something you thought you'd hate. Maybe something unexpected happened. Tell us in the comments.
Let's talk about lessons. What's something you learned about yourself this year?
I learned that I need more rest than I thought. I used to pride myself on being productive all the time, but this year I burned out, and I realized that rest isn't lazy, it's necessary.
That's such an important lesson. We live in this culture that glorifies being busy, but rest is actually productive.
Exactly. What about you?
I learned that I'm more resilient than I give myself credit for. When that friendship ended and some other stuff happened, I thought I'd completely fall apart, but I didn't. I kept going.
That's powerful. Sometimes we don't know how strong we are until we have to be.
Yeah, and I think everyone listening has probably discovered some resilience this year too, even if they don't realize it.
For sure. What about changes? Did you make any big changes this year?
I moved, not to a different city, but to a new apartment, and it completely shifted my daily life.
How so?
Well, my old place was in a busy area with lots of noise. My new place is quieter, has more natural light, and I have space for a little home office. It sounds simple, but it's changed my whole mood.
Environment matters so much. We don't always realize how much our space affects us.
What about you? Any big changes?
I changed my morning routine completely. I used to roll out of bed and immediately check my phone, which meant I'd start every day stressed. Now I get up, make coffee, and read for 30 minutes before looking at any screens.
And has that made a difference?
Huge difference. I feel so much calmer throughout the day.
I love that. Sometimes the smallest changes have the biggest impact.
Okay, listeners, did you make any changes this year? New job, new city, new routine, new mindset? Share with us.
All right, let's talk about English specifically. For those of you learning English, how was your English journey this year?
Oh, that's a great angle. A lot of our listeners are probably improving their English, and that's worth reflecting on.
Definitely. So if you're listening, can you have conversations more easily now than you could in January? Can you understand more when watching movies or TV shows?
Have you learned phrases that you use all the time now? Have you made friends who speak English? Have you gotten more confident?
Those are all wins. Language learning is full of small victories that add up over time.
And sometimes we don't notice our progress because it's gradual, but if you compare yourself now to a year ago, you've probably grown so much.
So go to the comments and tell us, how did your English improve this year? What can you do now that you couldn't do 12 months ago?
Even if it feels small, share it. Did you order food in English for the first time? Did you understand a joke? Did you dream in English? All of it counts.
Now let's talk about the vocabulary you can use when talking about your year, because there are some really useful phrases that native speakers use all the time.
Yes. So if your year was good overall, you might say it was a solid year, or I can't complain, or it was one for the books.
If it was challenging, you could say, it was a tough year, or it tested me, or I went through a lot, or it was a learning experience.
If it was mixed, you might say it had its ups and downs, or it was a roller coaster, or it was bittersweet, or it was complicated.
And when talking about specific things that happened, you can use phrases like the highlight was, or the low point was, or looking back, or in retrospect.
Also, I'm proud that, or I wish I had, or next year I want to, these help you reflect and look forward.
Here's another good one. When something unexpected happened, you can say, out of nowhere, or surprisingly, or I never thought I'd.
These little phrases make your English sound natural and help structure your thoughts.
Okay, so now let's get practical. If someone asks you, how was your year? What's a good way to structure your answer?
I'd say you start with a general feeling, then give one or two specific examples, then maybe mention something you're looking forward to.
Can you give an example?
Sure. You know, it was a pretty transformative year for me. I went through a career change that was stressful at first, but I'm really happy with where I ended up. I also got back into running, which has been great for my mental health. I'm feeling optimistic about next year.
Perfect. That's natural, it's honest, it gives specific details but isn't too long, and it ends on a forward-looking note.
And you can adjust based on the situation. If it's a casual conversation, maybe just give the general feeling in one example. If it's a close friend, you can go deeper.
Right. Read the room and match the energy.
Now, what if someone asks about your year and it was genuinely difficult? How do you answer without being a downer, but also without pretending everything was fine?
That's tricky. I think you can be honest but balanced. You might say something like, honestly, it was a challenging year. I dealt with some health issues that were scary, but I also learned a lot about what really matters, and I have great people in my life who supported me.
See, that's honest about the difficulty, but also acknowledges the positives. You're not being fake, but you're not dumping all your problems on someone either.
Exactly. It's about being authentic while also being mindful of the context.
All right, I want to ask everyone listening something important. When you think about 2025, what's one word that describes it for you?
Oh, one word. That's tough but good.
For me, I think my word would be growth. What about you?
Mine would be transition. I feel like I was in between versions of myself all year.
I love that. Okay, listeners, tell us your one word for 2025. Growth, transition, challenging, surprising, healing, chaotic, peaceful. Whatever it is, drop it in the comments.
And hey, there are no wrong answers here. Your year was your year. Own it.
Absolutely. Whether it was the best year ever or the hardest year ever or somewhere in between, it was yours and it shaped you.
And now we're about to start a whole new year, which is exciting.
It really is. Fresh start, new possibilities, all of that.
But before we move forward, I think it's important to actually acknowledge what happened. That's why having this conversation, even just with yourself, is so valuable.
Agreed. Reflection helps us process, learn, and grow.
All right, everyone, let's break down some key vocabulary from today's conversation.
We're going to teach you 5 useful expressions that came up while we were talking about the year.
First one, ups and downs. We used this phrase several times.
Ups and downs refers to the good times and bad times, the successes and challenges. It's a way of saying something was mixed or varied.
Like, my year had a lot of ups and downs means some things went well and some things didn't. It's not all positive or all negative.
You can use this for anything, not just years. My relationship has had its ups and downs, but overall it's good.
Second expression, a roller coaster.
When you describe something as a roller coaster, you mean it had extreme highs and lows, lots of unexpected changes, intense emotions.
Like an actual roller coaster ride, it goes up really high, then drops really fast. It's exciting and scary and unpredictable.
So if someone says this year was a roller coaster, they mean it was emotionally intense with lots of changes.
Number 3, to burn out.
To burn out means to become completely exhausted, usually from working too hard for too long without enough rest.
It's not just being tired, it's being mentally, physically, and emotionally drained to the point where you can't function well anymore.
You might say, I burned out at my job, or I'm worried about burning out, or I need to rest before I burn out.
Number 4, in retrospect, or looking back.
These phrases mean when you think about something now, after it's already happened. You're viewing it from the future perspective.
In retrospect, losing that job was the best thing that happened to me. Means now that time has passed, you can see it was actually good, even though it didn't feel that way at the time.
Looking back, I wish I had traveled more, is the same idea. You're reflecting on the past from your current perspective.
And finally, one for the books.
If you say something is one for the books, you mean it's memorable, noteworthy, worth remembering and talking about.
It comes from the idea that it's significant enough to be written down in the record books.
Like, that vacation was one for the books, means it was amazing and unforgettable. Or 2025 was definitely one for the books, means it was a year you'll always remember.
So those are your 5 terms: ups and downs, a roller coaster, to burn out, in retrospect or looking back, and one for the books.
All super useful for talking about your experiences and reflecting on your year.
Well, Jason, I feel like we just had a really genuine conversation about this year.
We did, and I hope everyone listening feels like they were part of it too.
Because here's the thing. Talking about your year isn't just about making conversation. It's about processing what you've been through.
Exactly. When you put your experiences into words, especially in English, it helps you understand them better.
And it helps you recognize your growth, your resilience, your wins, things you might not notice otherwise.
Okay, time for this week's challenge, and this one is really important.
Here's what we want you to do. In the comments, answer this question. What's one thing you accomplished in 2025 that you're genuinely proud of?
It could be anything, big or small. We want to celebrate with you.
And then answer this. What's one thing you want to do differently in 2026?
Not a resolution necessarily, just something you're thinking about. Maybe a habit you want to change, a skill you want to learn, a mindset you want to shift.
Write both of those in the comments. Let's create a space where we're all reflecting together as this year ends.
And read through other people's comments too. You'll probably find someone who had a similar experience to yours, and that sense of connection is powerful.
Also, if this episode resonated with you, please share it with your English learning friends. Year-end reflection is something everyone can relate to.
And subscribe if you haven't already. We're going to keep having these real, thoughtful conversations in 2026.
You know, Jason, I think what I love most about this topic is that it reminds us that everyone's going through something.
Right. Everyone has struggles. Everyone has wins. Everyone's year is a mix of things.
And when we talk about it openly, in English or any language, we realize we're not alone.
That's beautiful. And for our English learners specifically, I want to say, the fact that you're here, learning, trying to improve, that in itself is an achievement for 2025.
Absolutely. Learning a language is hard. If you stuck with it this year, even just a little bit, that's worth celebrating.
So be proud of yourself, recognize your progress, and get ready for even more growth in the new year.
All right, everyone, that wraps up today's episode. Thank you so much for being part of this conversation and this community.
Seriously, we appreciate each and every one of you. Your comments, your presence, your dedication to learning. It matters.
We'll see you next week with a brand new topic. But for now, take some time to reflect on your year.
Take care of yourselves.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye.